Hey guys, welcome. This is Brad Krantz. Thank you for joining me on my Monday leadership. Today I'm kind of still looking at leadership in the political arena. So I've got a young man that's going to join me today. He's running for House District 8 here in Montana, the Kalispell area, and he's 18 years old. So I'd love to have you welcome with me, Lukas Schubert.
It's good to be on. Thanks for having
Lukas,
me
thanks so
on.
much for joining me today. It's a pleasure to have you over here, man. Thanks so much.
It's good to be here. Like I said, I appreciate the invite.
Yeah, you got it. So I'd love to just showcase leadership. You know, win or lose, you are taking a leadership role, whether you know it or not, by running for this position.
Absolutely.
So just a little bit so people know a little bit about your background, but kind of what are some of the things that motivate you?
So some of the things that motivate me, especially for just getting involved in politics, because it's not just, this run for state house that I'm doing right now, but I'm also the secretary of the central committee that we have here in Flathead County. And, I'm involved in the transportation advisory committee, helping with that. But what motivates me is to make the state, make the community a better place, because we see in places like California, Washington, where you're from, with bad leadership and without good people getting involved, we see where it's taken those places. It's taken them to high crime. Crime isn't even being, considered by the police. They just let you do that. All of these things, I could go on. But a better future is what motivates me, especially as a young guy, because, we need to build. Our goal is to build stuff. Just as humans in general, to build is what we've always been doing with civilization and everything. So absolutely, we need to striving for a better future is really what motivates me. Especially in politics.
That's awesome. Tell me a little bit about what's one of your biggest influences, Lukas.
So one of my biggest influences, I would say, has got to be my mom. She is a massive workhorse, and she's taught me the virtue of going and having a goal and then taking what can I do right now to achieve my goal, and then taking those steps whenever you possibly can, has been massive. Just to accomplish any goal in life.
Okay, that's awesome. So what are some of your other mentors that you have right now? I'd assume at 18, getting in the political arena, hopefully you've got mentors. Tell me about them.
I do have some. So I have the Dr. Al. He's the chair of the Central Committee, but he ran for Congress. He's been involved in politics since the mid to early 2010s in the legislature, and just bouncing ideas off of him, and not even just him, but also other legislators, state senators. When I was in Helena, paging for the legislature, I stayed with the state senators here in the county, and just hearing their ideas, hearing what they have to say. They've been in there for a while. They know they have experience, and getting having some of that experience rub off on me is very beneficial. And so these guys, they're supporting me all the way with with my run, so that it really does help. That's
awesome. That's what you want to do. Find out if you don't know something, you want to get around people that do, and it sounds like you're doing that.
Exactly.
So it kind of leads me into the question here: why are you running for this position?
So as I mentioned earlier, with what motivates me, having things be better in the community is the big picture reason why I'm running. And that doesn't necessarily mean action. The government giving everyone $1 million, that's not beneficial. So, in some cases, the lack of action is a decision you can make that betters the community. But the point is, having a state and bettering people's lives and seeing that happen in real time is the big picture reason why I want to run and represent House District 8 in the legislature. But specifically, and that kind of goes to the issues of my race, I think the just overall unaffordability of the county, specifically in the state overall, and some of the far left. We're already seeing the far left infiltrate our state with what's going on out east in Glasgow, a kid being taken away from her parents to be transitioned. And just the overall far left ideology, it's seeping into our state. We have some of the far left legislators in the legislature. We had a bill last session, Senator Fuller, that would have said that, listen, it passed, but it said that you can't have these transgender mutilation surgeries on little kids. And pretty sure all of the Democrats voted against it. So there's a serious battle that's going on. And as Republicans and conservatives, we need to be serious about it. We don't have the luxury of just being able to goof off. Okay.
Well, one of the things, just to touch on that a bit, Lucas being a little bit older at 63, I can say, hey, you might make a decision today at 18 that you think is good, but what if you change your mind 2 years down the road, or 5 years, or 10 years? You can't turn that back. So don't do something you might regret later in your life, I think would be my advice. But
Absolutely.
It seems like it's common sense. So tell me, you're 18 years old. That could be really perceived by, I'm sure, a lot of people to be a negative in running. How do you deal with that?
Yeah, so I mean, at face value, it might seem as a negative, but I think that there actually are some positives that come along with that, because I'm young and I'm in the community. I'm going out there talking to people, listening to their input. Again, I'm a conservative, and I'm not going to compromise on my core values. That's just not going to happen, not who I'm going to be. But I'm willing to listen to what people have to say, even if I disagree with them, willing to take in their input. And, I think being young and also understanding a lot of the issues that Gen Z faces is crucial. Especially because, I mean, now in the 2024, I mean, it's crazy, how time flies. But Gen Z, I mean, most of us are going to be voting in 24 a lot more than ever before, at least for certain. But I've been involved in the community just overall, like I mentioned, in the Central Committee, in these the other boards, Transportation Advisory Committee. I'm doing stuff, and a lot of the like I mentioned earlier, the people that are in there, a lot of the solid conservatives, such as the Speaker of the House, Matt Regier, he's thrown his weight behind me. And I think he understands, I may be a young guy, but there's a lot that we need to get done. And I understand a lot of the issues that are going on that need to be fixed. Good.
Now, I noticed, I'm going to make a mention. You were in the Flathead Beacon yesterday. They talked about Lucas and his opponent. And again, Flathead County's the most conservative county in the state of Montana, but they called you an ultra conservative. So I found that maybe it gets a smile on my face, because I go, is there such thing as an ultra liberal? I think there is, but is ultra conservative bad, Lucas?
Well, I mean, that's the thing, they try to paint me ultra conservative, which what that means is just a conservative who's not willing to compromise on my core values. Like I said, and in the article, they said, oh, he's not willing to compromise with Democrats. Well, if we look at something that actually benefits people, if Democrats are willing, excuse me, if Democrats are willing to, if we can make a compromise that actually benefits people, absolutely, I would do that. But I'm not going to compromise on my core values and betray my constituents that elected me. I mean, it's a 70% conservative district. Trump won that district 70% of the time. And so I'm not going to compromise my values. I'm not going to compromise the values of the district to team up with Democrats to do something that's not good for the state. But so I just consider myself a regular conservative who's not going to go and sell out my constituents.
Good. Yeah. I mean, I consider myself a constitutional conservative that currently identifies as a Republican, but good for you. It's about not compromising your values.
Absolutely.
I am who I am. You are who you
Absolutely.
are. I'm not trying to hide that or get 100%. Around it, but it is what it is. So let's talk about, what are some of the major issues that you're focusing on, Lucas? Like, what's your hot buttons? What do you think needs to take place or change here in your district?
The three things that I really want to actually go and introduce legislation to deal with next session is, one, cutting property taxes. The property taxes are sky high. People are being priced out of property they've owned for decades, which is completely unjustifiable. So I think what we need to do, because last session we had a massive surplus, and a lot was given in one-time payments, so we're going to have a large surplus this time around, is go and just decrease the amount that people pay for residential property, that the state takes in residential property taxes. That's huge. And then that leads into my other issue, which is just overall unaffordability. And with that, I think housing is a large part of it. And even if you rent, if your landlord's property taxes go up $2,000, most of that is going to be passed on to the renter.
Yeah.
So we need to also just take measures to decrease taxes, decrease red tape and fees in all facets of the housing market.
Yeah.
So that, because if the price to produce a house and to get it on the market and to sell it decreases, then the price that people are going to pay at the end of the day is also going to go down.
Right. It's been said that businesses don't pay taxes, consumers do. So businesses will pass along their increased costs to you and I as the end consumer. So there's a third issue too you wanted to dovetail into.
Yes. So my third issue is the very far left judiciary that we have in the state. And the reason why it's crucial, you might think, well, judge, I mean, it is what about pro-life or school choice or anything like that? Well, the thing is, all of those issues depend whether or not we can actually deal with our far left judiciary, because in the state of Montana, we have one of the furthest left judiciaries in the country, even arguably further to the left than in New York.
Wow.
And these judges, they take hundreds of thousands of dollars in donations from Democrats. They get Democrat-aligned organizations to spend hundreds of thousands on their races, and they run as nonpartisan. And they are complete partisan Democrat shills. Just to give an example, in the last redistricting, every 10 years we have redistricting, and the Democrats, the judiciary, they get to pick the chair of the redistricting commission. It's 2 Democrats, 2 Republicans, and the chair that's picked by the judiciary. And out of the whole state of over 1 million people, they chose a decade-long Democrat donor to be the chair of the independent redistricting commission. And lo and behold, we lost 9 seats in the House. I mean, and again, we'll see what actually happens, but at least if you go off of previous historical elections, we're set to lose 9 seats in the House and maybe 2 or 3 in the Senate. And so these judges, they're complete far left, and we need to take action. What I will plan on doing, there was a bill last session, House Bill 464, the Judicial Transparency Act, that would not force but allow judge candidates to run with a party. I think something like that is crucial, because so many voters, you need to be a political junkie in order to basically know if a judge is liberal or conservative.
Right.
And that's ridiculous. So I would introduce stuff like that. Frankly, defund them, because this is a serious issue. Half of our agenda every session gets struck down, especially when it comes to pro-life, which I personally care a lot about. And we can't get any ground on that issue, even though it's widely supported to not allow babies to be murdered the day before they'd be able to survive outside the day before they'd be able to survive outside the
crazy.
So we need to take action on the judiciary. So like I said, we need to have judicial transparency in their elections. Frankly, I would support defunding them. If things don't change, I would support impeaching them. We probably won't have the votes for impeachment since they drew us out of it, but I mean, and I could go on for a whole hour about all, because there's so much stuff that goes beyond just ignoring. I mean, they ignore the Constitution, they complete partisan hacks, but they also break their own ethics. And I mean, they're trying to disbar our Attorney General, trying to kick him out of there because he's speaking out against them. And obviously in other states, we see what they're doing to Trump. So hopefully, this will clue a lot of people into the fact that we need to deal with and actually, I think just this morning, they overturned a ruling that was given in order to allow someone who is charged with like sexual assault to go free. So even they let violent criminals go, but then they're fine just striking down every conservative law.
It goes back to, just real quick, to what we were talking about, the label, whether ultra conservative or ultra liberal or moderate, whatever, but you want to know who your people are. How are they likely to vote or rule, in this case in the judiciary, on legislation? So if you don't know where they really stand, are you making an educated, informed decision when you vote? So I'm agreeing that it's a big issue. Lucas, so what overall 30,000-foot view, what's your vision for Montana?
So my vision for Montana, what I hopefully seek to accomplish, and who knows, hopefully we can do it in one legislative session, but it's going to take our whole community, not just the legislature, not just the governor, not just the courts. It's going to take us to all be involved and to all make small choices to really prosper. But what I think needs to be done, we need to completely stop the far left ideology that's infiltrating the state and infiltrating the country. It
Okay.
needs to end. You have these, harmful transgender ideology that's being taught to kids.
Yeah.
And it's a huge, that's just the worst example of it.
Okay.
Across virtually everything, there's harms being done. We need to turn that around. And, in terms of positive things, we need to guarantee these liberties that we've had. Just look outside. We live in one of the most free states in the entire country, the last best place.
Yeah.
It's beautiful here. And we need to protect it. We need to have we need to have a good environment that at the same time, not, destroying the energy security that we're on the brink of having that happen. Just a future that where families can prosper, where the American dream can be brought back. So that, it is pretty wide ranging.
Okay.
There's a lot of facets of it, but
Sure.
we got to get that done.
That's great. So what's in your future? Okay, with win or lose here, you're 18. What do you see in your future right now?
Well, I'm confident we can win this because
Okay.
I think my values align a lot more with the district. I think what I plan to do resonates a lot more with the district. But
Okay.
future win, like you said, win or lose, 10, 20, 30 years down the line, I don't know where I'll be at exactly that far into the future. But I'll tell you where I want to be is still involved, still making a difference in the community to better the community, because
Okay.
that's what we need. It needs to be done by each and every one of us.
Yeah.
But yeah, hopefully with a family, with some kids,
Okay.
maybe grandkids too.
Awesome.
But yeah, we'll see.
Awesome. Well, that's great. Hey, Lucas, just before we close out here, what is your message to the voters of House District 8?
Well, I'll tell you, if we need to solve the issues that are at hand today. Like I mentioned earlier, property taxes, high cost of living, the judiciary, and all of these other things that go in with that, school choice, election integrity, ensuring abundant Montana energy. There's so much that needs to be done. And obviously it goes, I can't not mention it that, yeah, I do have an opponent in my race. And he Republican, but when you look at his votes, and he'll bring up, I got a 92, 96% Republican rating, but most of those votes are either not consequential or they pass with unanimous support, including Democrats. When you look at the consequential votes that truly impact people, he's with the Democrats at best half the time.
Okay.
And you can look at the specifics of forcing counties to increase property taxes, allowing people without verified citizenship to be able to vote, defending the judiciary. These are all things that he's voted for. And I'm not making this race about any personal, I don't have any personal animosity towards either of my two opponents, but we need to, what my goal in this race is to provide a real conservative, outlook, a real conservative option in the race.
Okay.
And feel free to visit my website and anything else, reach out to me personally. I'd love to, if you want to give me a call or text, I'd love to talk with you.
Okay, fantastic. Well, Lucas, thanks so much for joining me today. I've appreciated having you on. That's a wrap today, guys. So again, thanks for joining us. And as always, have an awesome Monday.
We'll see you guys.
Bye-bye.